everybody. My name is Eric Hopkins. This is my good buddy Brendan, and this is our weekly NFL recap show. We'll be doing this show drops every Tuesday on the channel throughout the NFL season here, and we're kind of starting a little bit early here, discussing a little bit of the preseason before we get into the regular season here with all the good games coming up. So we'll go over week 2 of the preseason this week, and of course we'll get a little bit of a preview of week 3, and then we'll probably take... Well, we'll probably still do a show next week. We'll talk about the week 3 games, and then, there may be a week there where we take off because there's no NFL games. But we might preview week 1 or something one week. We'll probably still do a show, but I'm just kind of spitballing here. But anyway, if you're finding this for the very first time, please click that like and subscribe button. And don't forget to hit the notification bell so you get all the notifications about when we put up new content right here on this channel where we discuss all the NFL news each week. So let's get into some of these games for week 2 of the preseason here, and we'll get into some of the highlights and some of the players and stuff, how they performed in these games. A little bit more starters performing this week in preseason than we had last week, so that's a little bit more entertaining for some of us here, especially trying to come up with things to talk about on the channel. Last Thursday night, the preseason of week 2 opened up with the Patriots versus the Philadelphia Eagles. The Patriots winning a blowout here, 35-0 on Thursday Night Football. The Patriots, the Patriots have 145 points scored over the last 4 preseason games versus Philadelphia. It's an indication of Philadelphia may be in a bit of shambles right now. Joe Flacco was quarterbacking this game. No Jalen Hurts. But the Patriots looked very impressive here. The first week of preseason, Cam Newton looked like he was struggling a little bit. Mac Jones looked good. In this game, Mac Jones and Cam Newton both looked absolutely efficient. They both looked really good. And the run game has looked good both preseason games. So New England... after this little restructuring they've had to do since the departure of Tom Brady, possibly could be finding their sea legs a little bit. But it's preseason. Again, who knows? That's always the little asterisks here in the preseason games that we discuss here. But we'll find out more once the regular season starts. But, yeah, never doubt Bill Belichick and the New England Patriots. So, big-time blowout here on Thursday Night Football, though. So, yeah, I'm a little worried as a Colts fan. I don't like seeing New England do this sort of thing, but we'll see what happens. Friday night games, the Cincinnati Bengals versus the Washington Football Team. They really need to pick a mascot, even though I don't think they're going to at this point.
Pick a name, dude.
Yeah, just pick one already. The Washington Football Team wins 17-13 here. I had a note here. Let's see here. There was one player.
Weird. Yeah. Washington Football Team. Like,
yeah, right?
Okay.
I get it, why they made the name change.
The Sentinels, the Guardians, the Veterans, something.
I heard the Washington Warriors at one point was another one. I don't know. But at the same time, it's like, from what I've heard, the owner and stuff I've heard, they kind of like just being called the Washington Football Team. So
that's dumb.
I don't know. Again, if it works for him, by all means. That's kind of old hat at this point.
The Washington Monuments, like, fucking anything.
Yeah, the Generals, Washington Generals.
Yeah,
I don't know.
That's solid.
Just don't go with the Washington politicians. That's not a good thing,
brother.
But hey, to each their own. But yeah, in this game though, Jarrett Patterson, running back, kind of was behind Antonio Gibson, who is the starter on the Washington team, had 19 touches, 96 yards, and a score in this game. So good game for this young kid here. So interesting to see there. No Joe Burrow in this game. We did get to see a little bit of Ryan Fitzpatrick for the Washington Football Team. Terry McLaurin had a few catches as well. Joe Mixon played in the Bengals game. Jamar Chase, the rookie for the Bengals, hasn't really done a whole lot yet, but again, he's probably going to end up behind the Tyler Boyd and T. Higgins on the depth chart probably when it's all said and done, just because he's a rookie. But the kid's got some talent, and we've still not seen him yet with Joe Burrow. So no. I wouldn't say a whole lot about Jamar Chase just yet. I'd always kind of taken some criticism, but for now it's just it's preseason. Wait it out. Once Joe Burrow comes back, maybe week 1, we don't know. I think it was an ACL tear with him. It was late in the year, so we'll see if he's ready for week 1. But I think he's kind of trending in that direction, so we'll see what happens. But yeah, the football team here wins 17-13.
I swear to God, that's stupid.
I know, it's weird to say. It's absolutely odd.
So the football team played against the other football team, but this football team was
better than that one.
Called the football team.
Yeah. The team with the W on their helmets was better than the one with the stripes on their helmets. In this game, for sure. I don't think it was
Washington winners. That way you can keep the W.
Yeah, there you go. Yeah, just don't put L's on your helmets. That's probably not a good idea. Then we had the Kansas City Chiefs versus the Arizona Cardinals. The Chiefs win 17-10. Patrick Mahomes played in this game, so did Kyler Murray. Unfortunately, in this game, the starting running back of the Kansas City Chiefs suffered an ankle injury in this game, Clyde Edwards-Helaire. But to be honest, I had him in fantasy last year. I'm not so certain the Chiefs will even be harmed one single bit by this. Fantasy discussions is another question with Clyde Edwards-Helaire. But if you've had any running back from the Kansas City Chiefs last year, you kind of know it's just rotate in and out at one of those deals. Kind of like having New England Patriots running backs at this point. But so sucks for Clyde Edwards-Helaire. Hopefully it won't be super serious and he'll be back. But the Chiefs rolled on without him in this game for the most part. Looked just fine. Didn't see a whole lot of the Cardinals side of things. There's a lot of football to watch. I was out of town with family this weekend, so I didn't get to watch every single game. But so at least we got some starters in this, and Mahomes looked as efficient as ever for the most part, from what I could tell. So if there's ever a stud in the NFL who's old reliable right now, it's Patrick Mahomes, outside of Tom Brady probably for the most part. We also had the Buffalo Bills versus the Chicago Bears. The Buffalo Bills blow out the Bears here, 41-15. I don't know what was going on with the Bears. It seems like their offensive line is having some issues, sounds like. And again, it's kind of one of those things with a few teams in the NFL right now. The starting quarterback position is kind of in question. We don't know if it's going to be Andy Dalton. We don't know if it's going to be rookie Justin Fields, who had a good Week 1 preseason game, I thought. Week 2, it was a little, less impressive, but at the same time, it wasn't bad. But Andy Dalton played pretty well, for what I could tell.
Yeah, so, I guess Bears fans being Bear fans were chanting for Fields when Dalton was playing. And Fields kind of was like, yo, don't go shitting on Andy Dalton. He came to the bat for Andy Dalton.
Well, good. That's a good answer.
We've given Andy Dalton a lot of shit too, especially in fantasy. But I mean, there are moments where Andy Dalton plays phenomenally, and you're good. You're glad to have him. Same thing with it's the same thing with Fitzpatrick, but I mean, Dalton can be a little bit more reliable than Fitzpatrick.
Right. Well, I mean, it's one of those things too. I mean, they still got Mitchell Trubisky, I believe, too, if I remember correctly. But I don't think he's going to be the starter. But and I get everybody wants to see the young rookie of Justin Fields, no doubt about that. Now, but
it was
teams
cool
a lot of
that
times
Justin
will go
Fields,
with
was like, yo,
goes to bat for him. Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's the way he should be. I mean, hey, man, he's a veteran. Let's respect him. And I'm sure a lot of teams tend to side with the veteran experience when it comes to rookie quarterbacks, especially at first. Not everybody can come out their rookie year and just light things up. Justin Fields has the ability, and let's say week 4, week 5 rolls around, the Bears are 1-5 or 1-4, whatever it might be, or 2-3. Yeah, Justin Fields is probably going to come in at that point because we're going to see what you got for the kid. And for all we know, he may start week 1. But for right now, I think it's kind of like a lot of other situations. The competition is wide open, and we'll see what these guys can do with the last preseason game and in the rest of the practices going forward. And then they'll make a decision from there, and then we'll see how the games play out. But in this case, it did not go the Bears' way. I don't know how many starters for the Bills played. Like I said, I didn't get just to see a whole lot of this game. But they dominate here, 41-15 against the Chicago Bears. And to jump back real quick, I did have a note on the Philadelphia Eagles I wanted to mention. Rookie wide receiver Devontae Smith, he's one of the higher draft picks. Even though he may be dropping some passes, especially from Joe Flacco during this last game against New England, he was getting very wide open against New England starting cornerbacks. So the catches will come, I think, with the timing, with the Jalen Hurts or Flacco, whoever ends up being the starter, probably Hurts. So it's a little early to be panicking on some of these rookie receivers, especially. Sometimes receivers especially take a year to get their legs under them in the NFL. I mean, that's not always the case, but in this case, I think the kid, if he could get wide open on almost every pass play he was getting against starting cornerbacks for the New England defense, which is usually a good defense, that's not a bad thing. So I think you just need to wait and see with Devontae Smith and not write him out just yet. All right, so the next game, the New York Jets versus the Green Bay Packers. The Jets win here, 23-14. Zach Wilson, the rookie quarterback, was 9 for 11, 128 yards, 2 touchdowns, at 154.7 passer rating. So very good day for the rookie for Zach Wilson, no doubt about that. So that's nice to see, especially with the new coaching staff and things like that. So that's a little bit promising for the Jets. I don't know who all played for the Packers. I don't think Rodgers played. But I could be wrong on that. Yeah, nothing really else to really discuss here from what I could tell for the Packers. Yeah, good for the Jets, and we'll see what that kid's got for sure. Now, we've had promises before with the Jets, like Sam Darnold and things like that. I mean, Mark Sanchez was good for a while, a little bit there with Rex Ryan and all that stuff. But the Jets are in a state where they can't really go a whole lot of places but up. So that's a good thing for them. So we'll see what this kid's got. The Baltimore Ravens defeat the Carolina Panthers 20-3. The Baltimore Ravens have now won 19 straight preseason games. It's the longest active streak in the NFL, but it's been preseason. Who really cares about that? Mm-hmm. But, it's still a stat here. So, yeah, I mean, other than that, I really ain't got a whole lot of notes on this game for sure. But good to see the Ravens get a win here. We have the Atlanta Falcons versus the Miami Dolphins. The Dolphins win 37-17. So our friend at work is going to be very excited to see the Dolphins winning in preseason. But
oh my God, I don't even talk to him.
But Myles Gaskin, though, is the story of this. Well, Tua Tagovailoa, whatever you say his name.
Don't ask me to say that.
I'll just call him Tua. Tua appears to be improving his timing and pocket presence, though, and he sustains 3 long drives in this game. So that's encouraging to see. I think his first week 1 preseason game was a little shaky. So that's encouraging. But Myles Gaskins here, though, appears to be the front runner to be the starting running back on the team. He had 2 rushing touchdowns in this game. So that's interesting to know for you fantasy players out there if you're interested in drafting any Miami Dolphins running back for sure. We had the Tennessee Titans defeated the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, the Super Bowl champion Buccaneers, 34-3. So the Bucs did not. I mean, of course, again, I don't think Brady played in this game and all that sort of stuff. So take it for what you will. It's not, but the Titans are supposed to be one of the best teams in the NFL, no doubt about that. So definitely worth mentioning here. The Titans have now won 4 straight preseason road games to advance that. So, but again, it's a preseason record. It's not a big thing to really worry about. The Pittsburgh Steelers defeated the Detroit Lions 26-20. Ben Roethlisberger did play in this game. 8 for 10, 137 yards, 2 touchdowns, and an almost perfect passer rating. So he looked good. He said he felt good, too, after the game was over. So that's a good sign for the Steelers, no doubt about that. Mm-hmm. So Najee Harris gets a little bit more run here. Kind of like he did in week 1, so serviceable. Nothing super impressive just yet. But, again, it's preseason. I'm sure that things like that with the running backs as a rookie will come as well. So I'm sure he's going to have a good season ahead of him as well. The Indianapolis Colts defeat the Minnesota Vikings 12-10. A little bit of news here for the Colts since we are Colts fans here, like we like to discuss every week. Some news here in this game in particular. Colts rookie defensive end Kwity Paye looked every bit of the first round pick that we gave up for him. He looked absolutely great here, sacking Kirk Cousins pretty quickly in a couple instances.
Good. So give me some good news.
Yeah,
man.
he looked great. So he looked every bit of the first round pick. Eddie Pinheiro made 3 field. It was basically a field goal game here for the Colts. They made 3 field goals of 28, 31, and 50 yards. So he looked good. Even though I don't even know if he's actually our full-time kicker. It's not Rigoberto Sanchez. That's it's Rodrigo Blankenship is our kicker. But for whatever reason, they had Eddie Pinheiro kicking in this game. But that's fine.
Get his kicks in.
Hey, yeah. I mean, maybe if nothing else, he'll get picked up by another team. So good for him. No doubt about that. Also, in good news for the Colts. So again, Brandon, you need a little encouragement here. Carson Wentz and Quentin Nelson both returned to practice today.
They better.
And they both look. I didn't see much about Quentin Nelson, but I've heard he looked good. Now, I did see video of Carson Wentz. He's running around like nothing ever happened. He looks fine, and he did rollouts. He was completing passes. It wasn't full team drills, but it was 7-on-7 drills. So I'm sure they'll ease him in slowly. But yeah, he looked good. So hopefully, as long as they'll keep an eye on the injury, make sure they don't regress anything there. I'm glad to see both guys back. And I think Ryan Kelly, the center, also returns. So getting healthy. Let's hope that sustains, and we'll see what the Colts do come week 1 for sure. But right now it looks like they had Jacob they had Sam Ehlinger start this game with some of the starters. Obviously, the offensive line wasn't completely there, so it was a little shaky there. But no Jonathan Taylor, no Marlon Mack either, I don't think. But Nyheim Hines looked good. From what I saw,
like Nyheim Hines.
Yeah, Nyheim Hines. Just think about this too. The Colts have Taylor, Mack, Nyheim Hines, and then their 4th string running back is Jordan Wilkins. They mentioned during the broadcast that their 4th string running back Wilkins has a 4.9 yards average per carry. That's good for your 4th stringer. That's not bad. So you've got a great depth there. And, of course, some of the receivers, Zach Pascal's looking really, really good as well. I think he's number 2 or 3 on the depth chart. Paris Campbell's kind of number 4, which was the slot receiver that everybody's got some high expectations for. So they're looking pretty. They look like they got more depth than I originally thought they would have at receiver. So that's a good thing as long as you can stay healthy. Defense, no Darius Leonard in this game, which is fine. There's no need to rush him into this. But Quiddy Pay absolutely stole the show for the Colts defensive line. So that's great to see. Moving on, we have the Houston Texans defeated the Dallas Cowboys 20-14. Get used to it, Houston Texans fans. I think the winning in the preseason is about the best you're going to hope for this year. I don't want to be negative. I'm sorry. I really don't. But I feel I feel like the Texans are just not going to have a good year, especially probably since there's not going to be any Deshaun Watson. I mean, you're going to have David Johnson, but outside of that, and Brandon Cooks.
Hey, listen, Deshaun Watson did that shit to Deshaun Watson.
He did. So we don't want to get into all that on the channel, but absolutely, I agree with you.
I don't want to talk about that shit at all. That's fucked up.
The Dallas Cowboys, though, they have scored fewer than 17 points in 9 of their last 10 preseason games. So the Cowboys, probably a lot due to the fact they ain't playing a lot of starters. So there's not a big worry there that they can't score in a preseason too much here lately, but we'll see what the Cowboys do opening night when they go to Tampa Bay to face the Super Bowl champion Tom Brady and the Buccaneers on opening night. So hopefully they'll have Dak Prescott back for that game. If they don't, I'll tell you right now, that kickoff game is not going to be as appealing to me as it would have been otherwise. Ezekiel Elliott and, CeeDee Lamb and, Amari Cooper and all that stuff will be great to see. But without Dak, it's kind of like, okay, I mean, not saying they can't maybe beat the Buccaneers, but the marquee game will not be as enticing to me if he's not around. But we'll see. As far as I know, he's still progressing from his shoulder injury, so we'll see what happens there. The Las Vegas Raiders defeated the Los Angeles Rams 17-16 in a nail-biting close game here, I guess you could call it, for preseason. The Raiders have won 7 of their last preseason games. Other than that, I really don't have a whole lot to talk about this game here for this recap. Once we get into regular season, we'll have a lot more details on all these games. It's just some of the preseason stuff is a little fuzzy, and a lot of times there's not a whole lot to talk about when it comes to preseason, so bear with us here for these next 2 weeks. The Denver Broncos defeated the Seahawks in another blowout, 30-3. The Broncos actually look pretty efficient again on offense, so that's 2 weeks in a row that the Broncos are actually looking pretty decent here. Teddy Bridgewater is making a case to be the team's starting quarterback over Drew Lock. He actually looked really efficient in this game. I think he might have only didn't complete maybe 1 pass, if I remember correctly, something like that. He looked very good here. So a little bit of a competition there again for the starting quarterback job in Denver. But I'm sure again Seahawks probably didn't play a lot of their guys. So Denver has allowed 10 points or fewer in 6 of their last 8 preseason games. So so their defense has also been good in the preseason. So we'll see what happens. The New York Giants versus the Cleveland Browns. The Browns win 17-13. The Browns have allowed fewer than 20 points in 14 straight preseason games at this point. So another team with good defense in the preseason. Not a whole lot to talk about the Browns here. However, for the New York Giants, Saquon Barkley is set to resume team drills this week versus the Patriots. I guess that's who they play in week 3 probably. In his first action back since his season-ending injury last year. So we'll get a little bit of look at see how Saquon Barkley is looking this week. So that'll be worth keeping an eye on for the NFL and in fantasy circles for sure. The San Francisco 49ers defeated the Los Angeles Chargers 15-10. The story of this game, really, again, the Chargers are not playing any of their starters for preseason. They've already said for the most part, Justin Herbert and Eckler and Keenan Allen, they're all not going to play, so there's no point in mentioning them a whole lot here. But the San Francisco 49ers, they've got a quarterback situation on their hand. Jimmy Garoppolo's not really played a whole lot. He's barely playing, and Trey Lance is looking shaky at times. Now, he's a rookie. Again, he's going to have those struggles. He has his good and his bad moments, but Kyle Shanahan appears to be having a decision on his hands to make about who's going to be his opening week 1 starter, so we'll see what the 49ers do. Chances are you would think they pull the trigger on Lance, but just to see what you got. But again, it's kind of like the Chicago situation. Depending on Garoppolo's deal, we'll see what they do there. But Trey Lance here went 8 for 14, 102 yards, 2 touchdowns, an interception, and he was sacked twice. So again, good and bad. But the sack is not always on him. It just depends on the play. And speaking of interceptions, a couple of the interceptions that Sam Ehlinger threw in the Colts game, he threw 2 interceptions, but both of which might not have been the best ball placement, but both interceptions were tipped up in the air and defenders picked it off in the air. So you maybe can't put it all on the quarterback, but maybe better ball play. You could maybe. It depends, but if it hits the receiver in the hands and it goes up, that's on the receiver. So it just depends. There were a few of those that just kind of bounced in the air, but yeah, it's a little on the quarterback for sure.
We catch those.
And one of them was actually a pick 6. So just so you know that. Yeah, but that was, again, I think at this point for the Colts, I think Jacob Eason would probably get the week 1 start if Wentz is unable to go, just for what I've seen. But again, they're going to reevaluate probably again after next week's game, and then they'll make a decision. The final game of week 2 of the preseason was the Jacksonville Jaguars versus the New Orleans Saints that took place tonight on Monday Night Football. Jameis Winston looked really good in this game. 9 for 10, 123 yards and 2 touchdowns. Again, almost a perfect passer rating. So Jameis Winston and Taysom Hill is we're trying to figure out who's going to be the starter here for New Orleans after Drew Brees' retirement. Jameis Winston's making a case, so we'll see how that goes. The Saints win 23-21. Jacksonville, I didn't see whether or not Trevor Lawrence played or not. We were doing some other videos on this channel, so we weren't able to watch this game. But again, I didn't think Trevor Lawrence looked great last week. I'll probably have to check out the game footage of this week to see how he looks. Again, another rookie, though, so it's going to take some of these rookies time. You just can't expect them to come in week 1 and absolutely light it up. And sometimes they do, sometimes they don't, but we'll see what happens there. So any thoughts on these games, Brendan, before we move on to the
on these teams? All I know is when I see John, if he's at work tomorrow.
Oh, Marcus, our Dolphins fan that we alluded to.
Shave your face. I want to talk to you.
But yeah, I mean, he's going to be excited about
preseason. Preseason. Calm down.
We love our buddies at work, but this guy, which we love him to pieces. But
I do. I love John.
He always gets really excited about the Dolphins every year, and it always seems like, to his credit, he's a super fan. Of the Dolphins. Good for him. And I'm glad he sticks with his team. But it seems like about week 4 every year, it's like
Heartbreak City.
The enthusiasm seems to wane. But if ever there's a time to capitalize on this, though, the NFC or the AFC East, with the Patriots coming off the Tom Brady years, or at least vulnerable. But again, they're starting to look a little good in the preseason here, so we'll see what they do in the regular season. But it seems like right now the Buffalo Bills, that's their division, but we'll see what happens going forward. But the Dolphins are playing better, no doubt about that. So we'll see what happens. Only other really big.
Let's calm down.
Yeah, let's calm down. The only other really big news item that I really had for this week was apparently the Los Angeles Rams running back Darrell Henderson, who was now the starter after Cam Akers got lost for the season after he got injured in training camp. Darrell Henderson has sprained his thumb. Nothing major according to the team, but interesting to note since Cam Akers is lost for the season. So they would be down to their third-string running back if Darrell Henderson is out.
He'll probably get some reps in.
But it's a thumb. If it's a sprained thumb, it might not be as big of an injury. But so we'll see what they do. But just something to keep an eye on, especially if you're going to be drafting any Los Angeles Rams running back, which is a shame because the Rams acquired Matt Stafford and things like that, and they've got some expectations over there. But if you don't have much of a running backfield, it's going to put a damper on what you could do on offense. So defense will be keying in on the pass more than they will be the run. So I don't know who else they got back there. Maybe they got somebody serviceable. I guess you could always go back and get Todd Gurley, but I don't know what he's doing at this point. I don't think he's with Atlanta anymore, is he? I think he went. Is he probably he may be a free agent at this point?
He might be a free agent. I don't
know. Even so, I don't know if you pull that trigger either. But at the same time, I mean, some of these teams with good running back depth could possibly make a trade. I even had a thought earlier that the Colts could always offer like a Wilkins or so. I would like them not to, because I would rather the Colts keep their depth. But there are going to be teams out there who are going to be interested in a trade like that if they have some running back depth, no doubt. So it'll be some feelers going out. Maybe if you're a Los Angeles Rams fan, maybe that could be happening. So we'll see what goes on there.
Or you could just not be a Los Angeles Rams fan.
Wow, bro. I mean,
options, man.
They probably say the same to you because, Indianapolis is not considered one of the more marquee teams in the NFL. But
look, man, life is what you make it. You can either be a Rams fan or worse off, you could be a Dolphins fan, or even worse than that, you could be an LA Raiders or Las Vegas Raiders fan.
They're going to look at you like, get the team right, man. We're in Las Vegas now.
Yo, you lost all right.
Well, hopefully by the time the Las Vegas Raiders play their NFL games, the stadium is up to code because God knows with WWE SummerSlam last weekend, toilets overflowing, card readers at concession stands weren't working. Oh, it was a nightmare from what I hear. But anyhow, I digress on that one. That's wrestling talk for another show. So let's get into the Week 3 preseason preview here, so to speak. And if you've been following my channel too, I've been doing, or at least last week I did in Madden NFL 22 simulation for the Indianapolis Colts I want to do every single week for the Colts season here. So this week I'll be the Colts playing the Detroit Lions for simulating week 3 of the preseason. So if you want to check that out here on the channel, it should be up this week as well. But yeah, so as I mentioned, on Friday night then, I guess the Colts are the first game of the week this week. Colts versus the Lions at 7 o'clock from Detroit. So we'll see that game on Friday night. We'll also see the Pittsburgh Steelers versus the Carolina Panthers on Friday night as well. A lot of games, or well, 4 games on Friday. Eagles versus the Jets and the Vikings versus the Chiefs, all on Friday night. On Saturday, we get the Green Bay Packers at the Buffalo Bills, the Baltimore Ravens versus the Washington football team, the Chicago Bears versus the Titans, the Cardinals versus the Saints, the Buccaneers versus the Texans, the Rams versus the Broncos, and the Chargers versus the Seahawks to round out Saturday. And on Sunday, which will be the remainder games, will be the Jaguars versus the Cowboys, the Dolphins versus the Bengals, the Raiders versus the 49ers, the Patriots versus their old arch nemesis, the New York Giants. So that would be interesting at 6 o'clock on Sunday. And the Sunday night game, which I'm assuming, looks like will be on NBC for Sunday Night Football, the Cleveland Browns versus the Atlanta Falcons from Atlanta. So that will round out the preseason in general, let alone just this week alone, which, again, we'll have a week off between week 3, the preseason, and the regular season. So we'll probably go over week 3 scores and some of the highlights, news, and injuries and things like that as well, leading into the week 1 season, which I can't – is that the – yeah, there'd be 2 different shows. So we'll probably do week 3 next week, and then week 1 preview probably the week after that, kind of leading up into the games, and we'll talk about all the news that's gone on in the week before. So, any other thoughts before we move on, buddy? Any fantasy stuff? Or we got everybody finally signed up in the fantasy league this week.
I know, dude.
So that's well, we still got some people to sign up in the Pick'em League on Yahoo, but hey, we've got the majority of people in, so that's good to hear. So we got everybody signed up, so I'm ready to go. I still got to study. You studied up at all?
Yep.
Yeah, you are
doing my research. I ain't going out like that.
Really? That's interesting. I didn't think you ever really studied too much, did you?
Really, I don't. But like at the same time, I need to.
You're like, yeah, I need to know.
If school has ever taught me anything, you should probably for to study.
Yeah, well, that's the thing though. This type of game, it's good to study, but if week 1 happens and when your star goes down, it doesn't matter how much you study.
It doesn't matter.
It's just like luck of the draw, man, and
that shit still makes me mad to think about. Not only did not 1, not 2, but all 3 of my starting running backs who played for the same team. Mind you, I picked...
Who was it? I can't remember.
It was the whole 49ers.
Well, why did you draft every single running back from the 49ers, first of all?
That was a smart call, Chief.
You were trying to get backups in case somebody got hurt? But then they all got hurt? Well, yeah, you had Mostert. You had... Oh, God, I don't even know who all they had.
I can't remember his name.
Was it McKinnon? I think last year. I don't think he's there anymore. I think he's in Kansas City. I don't remember. Anyway, something like
so mad.
I got to pull up like all the rosters and stuff, start studying a little bit. I'm
so mad, dude. I was like,
2 weeks away from the draft, and I have no idea who I'm drafting.
I have some ideas.
I know who I'd like, but it depends on who's there.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. It doesn't matter because I don't know where I'm drafting at. So like all my hopes and dreams could go up in a fucking pile of flames.
Now, next year, you'll know where you're drafted at this point. However, you ain't going to know who all... Well, you might know now at this point next year who all is still available in the draft, but being we're doing a keeper league, some of these stars will already be saved. So that's going to be the thing with the draft starting next year is some people won't be available. Now, I've set it up to where there's some good players that will be available every year no matter what. So that's one of the reasons, the methods to my madness for our keeper league rules. But we might get into them a little bit more once the season starts if you all are interested, once we have something to actually talk about in our fantasy league. Right now, we've not even got a draft. We may go over our draft a little bit or something once the season. Maybe that's something we could do week 1 before, because it'll be the day after our draft. We might be able to do that, things like that, kind of fill up a little bit of the time for the show for those interested for sure. But if not, sorry. We'll do our best to entertain you for sure with it. All things good. And maybe you guys can tell us more about your fantasy drafts and things like that. But with that being said, I guess that'll do it for this week's NFL recap show. Unless you have anything else further to add, buddy. Anything else at all?
Oh, yeah. Fuck them fish.
Bro. Yeah, man. Like I said, we love giving our buddies that work a hard time with their teams, especially the Bears fans in there. I love to give them.
Hey, and the Bears, too. Forget Rocky and Chris. Fuck both of y'all. Fuck them Bears.
There's a lot of Bears fans there. Indiana used to be Bears country before the Colts moved here. But
it is Rocky, Chris,
Angel.
Angel. I forgot about Angel.
Mm-hmm. There might be a few others as well, actually.
Mm-hmm.
But those are the most notable ones. But yeah, so
trash.
yeah, and we got our buddy Nate's a Cowboys fan for sure. He's a Colts fan as well. But
then Chris is also a Saints fan.
Mm-hmm. Of course, nobody knows who we're talking about, but that's okay. We're gonna.
And Matt is a fan of whoever's comfortable.
Yeah, Matt. We'll have Matt on this show probably at some point this season because this guy is the bandwagon of all bandwagoners, and
brother,
it's whoever's winning this week. Yeah, so I've already told him don't come back to the Colts. We don't want you. But
he's like, I'm gonna wear mine. I was like, you bet not.
No, you must not. And he is also our rating and defending fantasy football champion, so he'll definitely be on the show.
Was a dark day in history, right there.
Yeah, we chalk it up to 2020 around here in these parts.
A lot of things were crazy. It was him winning was just one of them.
And he beat me twice. I cannot allow that to happen again this year. So that's good.
I was like, yo.
Yeah, and not only that, I traded him for his best running back. I took I took Nick Chubb from him, but he still won the freaking league. So it's like, come on, man. But, that's the way the cookie crumbles in the NFL fantasy circles. So with that being said, I guess we'll move on from this week and we'll get ready for next week. And hopefully we'll have a good week of preseason games here. Hopefully no injuries. Let's keep everybody healthy. Let's keep everybody upright and mobile. And let's have a good season moving forward. So if you're finding this for the very first time, please let us know. Comment below. And don't forget to hit that like and subscribe button. And don't forget to hit the notification bell so you get all the notifications about when we put up new content right here on this channel. And until our next week's NFL recap show, guys, take care.
Goodbye.